Welcome to Real Estate Game Changers Radio, featuring real estate trendsetters and industry influencers, sharing tips and strategies to help home buyers and home sellers get the most out of their next real estate transaction. Now, here's your host, Suzanne Doyle-Ingram.
This is Suzanne Doyle-Ingram with Real Estate Game Changers Radio, and I am so excited about today's guest. Now, I know you probably think I say that every time, but this is really, really amazing that we got this fellow on the line today because he does so much for his community, and he's an extremely successful realtor with the team. He and his team sell more real estate than 99.97% of all the other realtors in the area where he works. So he is the real McCoy, and I'm so excited to have him on the show today. Let's have a big, nice welcome to Geoff Lavell. Welcome to the show, Geoff.
Thank you so much. It was a very kind introduction, and I appreciate you having me on today.
Well, I'm so excited for our listeners to find out more about you, and, you know, this is really just amazing. I'm so excited to interview you. So we're going to talk about real estate first, and then I want to talk about this amazing volunteering that you do in your community, which people are really going to want to stay tuned for that. So let's talk first about real estate. I know you've lived in Las Vegas for many, many years, and you've seen it change from a little tiny town into one of the most flashiest, glitziest cities in the whole world. I love Las Vegas, by the way, mostly because I love to eat. Really good eating opportunities there.
Yes,
Pardon me?
Yes. I said we have a couple of buffets. We have some really world-class dining here.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the country, the world, really the best chefs in the world have some of their best flagship restaurants here, so we're pretty lucky.
Oh, I know. I love it. I love it. You don't even need to go to New York. You can just eat in Vegas now.
That's right.
Mm-hmm,
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about a little bit about your real estate career and how you got started and what you love about it.
Well, you know, I got started. It's kind of a not very exciting story. I was going to college at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and in between the end of spring semester and the start of summer school, which I would always take to try to catch up on classes I didn't want to really spend a full semester in, I said, well, you know what, why don't I get a real estate license? I had two aunts that worked in real estate, and, one of them was an aunt in quotation marks in Florida, and the other one is in California, and they were very successful. And I thought, well, gosh, 6 weeks, I'll go take this course while I'm waiting for the next semester to start, and I did that. And then I was working for a high-end luxury optical boutique here in town, and just didn't like being at somebody's beck and call. As it was, their business, and they employed me, and they would send me off to far-off places for weeks at a time, and I just didn't like the lack of control I had over my own life. So I thought, well, you know what, I can be a realtor. I got my degree in psychology.
Well, that probably helps with your real estate.
It doesn't hurt. I'll tell you, it doesn't hurt. But
yeah.
I got my degree, and I thought, well, I'm going to quit this job that paid me $50,000 a year right out of college.
Wow.
Which was, 12 years ago. So it was
good money.
Great to be. Yeah, it was great. And I got travel, and I had a company card, and, all these really wonderful benefits. But at the same time, I was also a slave to the office, for somebody else's office. And so I thought, real estate offered me some flexibility and an opportunity for great income. So I did it.
That's
I took the
great.
plunge, and I burned the ships, as they say. I quit my job.
All
Scary,
out. Though. Yeah, it must have been scary.
Oh, it was terrifying. I can elaborate on it, but it was terrifying.
Yeah, and were you already married at the time, or was it before you were married?
No. I was young and carefree. I had no real responsibility in life other than to take care of my clients. So that's
great. Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. What a great story. Wow. And so you've been in real estate for many years. Well, since 2005 is when you started, right?
Well, yeah, I got licensed in 2004. That was when I first got licensed, and it was in the fall of that year that I started kind of interviewing and doing all those things with different brokerages here in town, and had a lot of no's. It was a hot market at the time, and brokerages weren't really interested in hiring somebody new out of the gate, which I thought was interesting. So
wow.
I associated with a well-known firm here, and little did I know my broker hired me because she was doing lead follow-up. It was trying to associate a new agent, and I thought, oh God, she really believes in me, and she did. She did. As I later came to find out, it wasn't just a matter of meeting a quota. She did think I was going to do well, and I just did a little better than I think we both thought I would.
Yeah. No, you have your own team. You've grown to a big company in 11 years. And tell me more about your team now and a little bit about you guys.
So, yes, my very first teammate, I've been in business, I think, for maybe 6 years. And I thought, well, I know enough to kind of mentor somebody else that could help me with some of these leads that I'm constantly letting fall through the cracks. And so I was, oddly enough, at a friend's house one night, and she and I and her boyfriend, and we were all sitting around having a nice evening, and maybe it had a few too many glasses of wine, and I said, you'd make a great realtor. And she I didn't think much of it, and I didn't think she did either. And the next day, Reba, her name is Rebecca, really, but we call her Reba. She called me the next day and said, so hey, how about that real estate thing? And she got licensed and became a realtor, and she's done amazingly well. I couldn't be more proud of her for her accomplishments. And over the years, I've just met some really incredible people, and who have kind of a similar philosophy and way of working. And sometimes really opposite, like Bobby. I've got this other great agent on my team, Bobby, who is opposite of me. It sounds bad, but most days I'm in T-shirt and shorts. And, I'm in T-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops, and Bobby comes to the office every day in a nice polo shirt at the very least, and nice pants and nice shoes, and he's a little more black and white than I am. I'm a little more flourishy with my clients, and Bobby's a little more direct, but I think it all works well because I'll go to him sometimes and say, how can I put this more directly? And,
that's great.
How can I soften this a little bit? So it works out. But we have a wonderful, wonderful team of agents, and they're all, really hardworking people that value the ethics of the business.
That's wonderful. And I think that's really what success really is, and being able to feel proud of what you're doing and work with really great people. That's fantastic. Good for you. So tell me about who do you love working with? Who's your perfect client?
My perfect clients are people that like to have a good time.
Oh, I could be your client.
People that like to laugh and joke around and, just maybe be a little irreverent to the serious nature of buying and selling houses. It's a big deal. This is for most people, at least the people that I deal with, this is their largest single investment. It's the largest single source of potential wealth or even potential liability. And it's a serious thing. You're trying to make the most money when you're selling. You're trying to get the best deal when you're buying. And I think that by approaching it with a sense of humor and not taking it too seriously, it just makes the whole process a bit more enjoyable. And the clients that I've had the most fun laughing with and just kind of being silly with are the ones that I think have really been most fulfilled by the process. One of my clients the other day just bought her first home, and she's in her 30s, and she was so excited. She was buying her first home, and it's a beautiful home. And I always ask my clients for reviews, and I post them to Facebook and social media. And she'd written this really wonderful kind of flourishy review about how great I was as her realtor. But at the end, she said, "Oh, and he's so funny." And so on my Facebook post, it said, blah, 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 ... extremely funny in parentheses. And so it was so nice to have all the other compliments, but I was so happy that she enjoyed herself. She really had a good time laughing.
That's so great. It's so true. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about your childhood and some major challenges that you have had in your life that you've overcome, but I think it's so true that, life is very short and you've got to have a good time, and there's another way to go through life besides being pulled through it, screaming, right?
Oh, yeah, kicking and screaming, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, can you give me an example of someone that you've worked with who was really fun and, you just had a good time and everything worked out really great?
This was a deal years and years ago. A gentleman by the name of Greg and his girlfriend were looking for a house, and I'd helped Greg's brother buy a home, Dan, and we'd gone out, and Greg and I were from different backgrounds. I mean, he was a boxer, and I've never been in a fight, and we were pretty opposite. But I think he kind of assumed some things about me, and probably both assumed different things about each other. But at the end of the day, something came on my iPod. I think it was a Dave Chappelle skit, and I went to change it, embarrassed that this had, it had some foul language in it, and I was like, oh gosh,
how did that happen?
How did that get on there, And he's like, no, this is my favorite thing. Don't change this. And we sat there and laughed, and from that point on, I had let my normal self come out a bit, and he was letting his normal self come out a bit. And I want to say, so that night, he and his girlfriend invited me to karaoke.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
So he invited me to karaoke, and that was the first night of maybe a year and a half of Monday night karaoke. We went religiously.
Oh my gosh.
And we would go every Monday night and have a few beers and just be silly and sing, and we actually formed a little group that another friend, Jake, and we would sing Afternoon Delight. We had our own little band.
Oh, that's so funny.
So yeah, I mean, I let my guard down a little bit. Thank God for Dave Chappelle, and we had a really great experience.
Oh, and it just teaches you, that you never should prejudge anyone, right?
No, it was just, I think we were both coming from different sides of the equation, and we just didn't assume that the other person was as nutty as we were. And at the end of the day, we were kindred spirits there.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, good for you. And I think it's so interesting how you can become friends with your clients. I bet that happens to you a lot.
Oh, I love it, and it's. I wish I could become friends with all my clients, but they have lives and I have lives.
Yeah, it's very busy.
You don't always. It's so hard because you share this incredible experience with your client, and they have trusted you with such an important decision, and you do. You want to go. You've enjoyed your time with them, but. There's not enough days in the year to be able to go to dinner with every one of them or to go over to their house and so it's, I truly value the ones that I am able to take on as friends where things we hit it off that well. And for the other ones that are just very loyal and come back time after time or refer their friends, I mean, I'm grateful of their loyalty and their trust. I mean, the trust for me is the thing that I think more than anything is a testament to where I've gotten in the business. They're not a deal to me. They're not just another property address. And I so value the trust component of it because this is a world we live in, unfortunately, where people will take advantage and it's frankly too easy to take advantage, I think, and that they trust me with their business means the world.
I know, and you must get a lot of referrals and a lot of repeat business. And I know that, like I mentioned in your intro, that you and your team sell more real estate than 99.97% of everybody else in Clark County. I mean, how does that even happen?
Well, I think that it's kind of the 80-20 rule. 80% of the business is done by 20% of the people in the market, and I'm really fortunate to share a market with some really talented and like-minded professionals that are out there doing high numbers or high volumes of sales and are able to maintain their integrity. And, there's also the people in town who I think we all agree kind of skirt the line of what gives our business a bad name sometimes. But I'm really fortunate to share it with some really amazing realtors, and I think there's a bit of synergy where they encourage me and I encourage them, I hope to some degree, to diversify how we find clients and how we continue to grow our business, because people don't sell houses every day. Mm-hmm. And so, or the same people, I should say, don't sell houses every day. So you have to diversify your clientele year after year in order to grow. And so that's, I think, the name of the game for us has been diversifying where we get our buyers and sellers from.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you probably get a lot of publicity, because I know you were named by the Greater Las Vegas Association of Realtors. You were named top 40 under 40 for 2012, 2013, and 2014. You better hope you don't get any older, because once you hit 40, you can't be under 40 anymore.
That's true. In fact, I had the great honor of being named there. Well, and the good news, and I'm so glad they did this, because it's a little embarrassing. Everybody loves accolades, but every year to receive that has been really great. But they did a Hall of Fame last year, and so now once you've won that 3 years, you're a Hall of Famer. So good news is I'm done winning it. I'm a Hall of Famer now.
Let some of the other youngsters win it now.
I get to celebrate the other people that are doing great things under 40 years old.
Oh, and so, you are really doing. You are also you got a Hero Award. Now let's talk a little bit about this amazing work you're doing. And I'm I can't even believe you just made time for this interview today. And I'm so happy, because you're such an awesome person, Geoff. So one thing that our listeners need to know about you is that you are a camp counselor at Camp Cartwheel, which is the Nevada Childhood Counselor Foundation's camp for kids with catastrophic illnesses. And you've been working and volunteering there since 1997.
Yes.
And is that right? You're the camp director?
Well, I'm one of three, so I will not take the accolades of being director. We're co-directors, so we all, like in many relationships, we all complement each other in our strengths and weaknesses. And I have the distinct pleasure of being what I liken to a cruise director. I'm in charge of the singing and dancing and silliness and fun.
Awesome.
My co-directors are kind of more the type A, who are really into the scheduling and fixing problems as they arise. And
right.
So I liken myself to a cruise director, yes.
So you're like Julie McCoy on the Love Boat.
Yes, absolutely. Come aboard.
We're expecting you. That's great. That's awesome. So, but on a more serious note, can you tell our listeners a little bit about your childhood and what you went through?
Yes. So when I was 14, I was a freshman in high school, and I was on the football team and was starting to kind of feel not myself. And over the course of about a month, was tested for a number of things, from mono to spleen disorder, but it was determined that I had leukemia. So at 14, in fact, September 27th, 1997, I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And I just want to say real quick, September is also National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So it's something that we've been trying to get more and more footing, I guess you could say, or more recognition for, because childhood cancer it affects so many families, and it's very sad to lose your aunt or your grandmother or somebody to cancer that has lived 40 or 50 or 60 years. It's still tragedy, but when we see children 2 and 3 and 5 years old dying from this disease, it's heartbreaking.
Oh, absolutely.
So we'd love to see more research money and things like that. So write your Congress people, write your representatives. We need more research on childhood cancer.
More money, more funding, absolutely.
Yes, we do. we're so close to a cure. I know it. But I was diagnosed at 14 with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which if you had to choose a cancer, that would be the one you'd want.
Okay.
I was very blessed. I had an incredible support network of individuals and friends who were supporting me and helping me stay positive, and I had luck on my side, and so through all that, I was able to beat my cancer somewhat uneventfully. So I didn't need a bone marrow transplant. I didn't need any kind of radiation therapy. So my cancer treatment was about as good as one could ask for.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I was introduced by my child life specialist, who was kind of like your hospital cruise director, because you spend sometimes months at a time in the hospital. Mm-hmm. She introduced me to the Nevada Childhood Cancer Foundation, which was a fairly new organization at the time. It had been around for about 7 years, and they were starting. This was going to be their second year of this Camp Cartwheel. And I was very reluctant. I had no desire to be a participant in cancer. This was something I was just going through, and I was going to be done with it, and I was going to be behind me.
Yeah.
And so she convinced me to go. And I became a counselor in training that year because I was 14. I was kind of one of the older kids. There were like maybe 10 kids there. So,
oh, my goodness.
It was very fledgling. And so over the course of the next several years, I became more and more involved and committed to the cause, and became a counselor in training, then a counselor, then a cabin director. And our camp now, in its 20th year this past year, we serve approximately 200 kids.
Oh my
every
gosh,
year.
That's amazing!
It is. I think what's even more amazing is it's completely free to the families. So the families pay nothing. The Nevada Childhood Cancer Fund,
they shouldn't pay anything.
Exactly. They shouldn't pay anything, and they don't. And so through generous donations of our local philanthropists, businesses, individuals, $5, $10, $20, we are able to pay for it for all the kids. There's a wonderful gentleman by the name of Brett Torino who owns an incredible ranch out here with a lake, and it's a little slice of heaven. Oh. And so we go out there. Our volunteers are 100% volunteers, so we have no paid staff, and so we have people. In fact, we had a counselor from Canada many years ago. Her camp name, we all have camp names. Okay. But her camp name was Canuck. Oh. So we had which I think is an okay word to say on the radio.
That's fine.
Hockey team name.
The Canuck.
So no, but we really are so blessed. And in fact, quick story, I met my wife there.
Wow.
She's the camp nurse, and so we met there. I proposed to her in March, which is off season for us, and so I tricked her out to going out to camp, and I had a banner up there, and I proposed, and then we got married at the ranch. The owner, Brett Torino, was benevolent enough to let us get up there and
gosh, that's
get
amazing.
And so now both of our kids follow us up there every year. They're 3 and 5, and so they are starting their journey at camp already.
That's great.
So she wasn't happy with me when she was pregnant up there 2 years in a row, but or I should say two seasons up there. But so we've been very, very fortunate. So that's what I do, and we do a puppet program, an anti-bullying puppet program called Kids Helping Kids, which is Lean on Me, called Lean on Me, Kids Helping Kids. So we do anti-bullying and health awareness for our kids that are going back to school after being diagnosed. And there's just so many wonderful programs. There's 40-some-odd programs that the Nevada Childhood Cancer Foundation offers to the families, which are completely free of charge. Health services, social services, mental health services. It's pretty impressive.
That's amazing. Well, one thing you just said that shocked me is it possible does it really happen that a child that has to leave school for a certain length of time to recover from their cancer, they go back to school and they get bullied?
Yeah, it's not only cancer, it's other illnesses. Children are naturally ignorant to what the more technical parts of the world, and I think so many people have a fear and an ignorance of what cancer is, how it's it's not contagious.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't make that person a leper or any kind of. And that's, you know, it's just a lack of education, both for the children and for the parents in many cases. I mean, I was 14 and I had kids at school when I was in high school that thought that they could catch my cancer,
gosh.
Yeah, it's just a lack of education.
Yeah,
so
we need more education.
We just go to educate the little ones. You know, it's a puppet show, so it's really, you know, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old. When we get into older kids, we have a different approach, but we're there to kind of help those kids transition back into an environment that's supportive, where kids know what their friend's going through. Right.
Well, that's wonderful. And I noticed on your website you mentioned that one of the ways that you fundraise is your annual Profiles of Courage Gala that you have. When does that happen?
Yes. Well, it happens in November. In fact, it's coming up here pretty quick, and it is just an incredible evening. We do it at the Bellagio, which is one of the premier luxury hotels here in Las Vegas, and through, again, the incredible generosity of our local partners, Penta Building Group, and many others, Brett Torino, and, again, small donations. We get just an abundance of support, of course, financially, and that goes to fund these incredible programs that NCCF, as we call it, NCCF is a mouthful, otherwise, that they offer. And, you know, it's no parent should have to go through their child having spinal taps and their bone marrow harvested and radiation therapy, and it's heartbreaking to see. But you know, if we can offer some small measure of light or hope or whatever it is, you know, the parents and the hospital workers tell us all the time that, you know, these kids will be going through a spinal tap procedure and they're singing camp songs.
Oh,
you know,
that's so great.
It is, and in fact, this story does bring me to tears a little bit, but many years ago, a camper got off the bus one day at camp and ran over to me, and he had seen a news interview I'd done the night before, and he ran up to me and he said, Krusty is my camp name, with a K, Krusty the Clown. So he ran up to me and he threw his arms around me and he gave me this big hug, and he said, Krusty, and he was maybe 6. You had cancer, and I said, I did have cancer, and he says, and you're all better now, and I said, I am, and he looked at me in his, you know, little bald head, and he looked up and he said, well, I'm going to be better too. And I had to, you know, kind of excuse myself from the group for a few minutes while I composed myself, and
oh my gosh, okay, I'm just getting a tissue right now.
You know, it's why we do it. You know,
yes,
we do it.
You're such a great role model.
To see that they can beat it. So thank you.
Yeah. And I mean, you're really the whole package, because not just.
Tell my wife that, okay?
I'll call her out right after this call. I'll call her. You know, but just such a great example of a successful business person. I don't know how you do it, all the volunteering as well as running such a massively successful business. But I think that's actually part of it. I think to whom much is given, much is expected, and that's why we interview people similar to you on this show, people who are making a difference in their community that I really believe are real estate game changers, not because you sell a lot of houses, but really because of the impact that you're making, because I believe that's truly what a well-lived life is to make an impact.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely.
And I mean, this sounds like kind of a silly question to ask you, but in your words, how are you different than your competitors?
Well, you know, I know so many competitors.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, I think obviously the biggest thing I think is personality, and I have I think I'm fairly unique in that regard. But that's a good question. I don't know how I'm different from my competitors, other than I know that when I look at a client, I am always just very cognizant and focused on the fact that this may be another, you know, quotation transaction, but I try to think back about how I am when I'm buying something or when I'm selling something. You know, I still have to go to the agents on my team and go, am I being silly as a buyer, or am I being silly as a seller, and try to keep myself grounded. So I try to keep in mind that this isn't just a deal. You know, this isn't just another notch on the board or a commission check. This is somebody's everything. It's where they'll bring their baby home from the hospital. It's where they'll, have birthday parties and Thanksgivings and holidays and good memory and bad things. I mean, they'll have this is one of the major parts of the fabric of their memories. And I think that's one of the things that carries so much importance for me, is just to remember that it has to be personalized. It has to be personal for them. It can't be, they can't call up and go, oh, hey, Geoff, this is Bob Smith. You remember me, right? I want them to know that when they call, I know them.
Yeah.
And this is, I know how important this is to them.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good for you. And I think, too, that what I loved about what you just said is you don't pretend to know everything. Sometimes you got to check in with your team, and that's what makes a great team. Yeah, no, I think one of the big things is we bring so many different perspectives and so much different experience to bear. We've all been in different arenas before. We've all worked in other fields before, even if it was for a brief time. And we all come to the table just in life with different experiences and know-how. And so I think that's been one of the great crutches, if you will, in our group here, is that we all do support each other. It's not a competitive thing. I mean, there's a little bit of competition. I'm gonna do more deals than so and so this month or this year. Yeah. But at the same time, we know that it's to benefit the team. We are elevating our visibility, if you will, as well. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on this interview today. It was just wonderful getting to know you better and having our listeners hear about how you're making an impact in your community and why, we believe you are a real estate game changer. So thank you very much for your time today. Well, I can't thank you enough, Suzanne, for having me on. I think it's a wonderful show you do here, and I look forward to listening and continuing to support it. Oh, thank you. So tell us, just lastly here, how can people contact you if they want to get a hold of you to talk about real estate or perhaps donating to your and both of those, I like both of those. In fact, I always, my email signature has a link to donate for the NCCF, and so they can contact me at 702-271-6868, which is my direct cell phone number. They won't get me, or they won't get my assistant. They'll get me. Okay. So it's 702-271-6868. Or they can visit me on the web at Lavell Group, Lavell Group.com. Oh, that's perfect. Great. Well, thank you again so much for your time. It was absolutely wonderful talking with you today. You too. Thank you so much.
This has been another episode of Real Estate Game Changers Radio with your host, Suzanne Doyle-Ingram. To hear all episodes featuring our hand-picked real estate game changers, visit us online at www.realestategamechangersradio.com.